Hey everyone, my name is Anders and today we are going to go over this week's Black Desert updates and events. Warrior, Succession Kunoichi, Awakening Witch, Awakening Wizard, Succession Striker, and Succession Nova were the classes to get class balance changes this week. For Succession Warrior, the meditation skill will now recover more mana, 500 mana instead of 350. It's also now going to recover health, 500 health at the max level of the skill. Cooldown has been changed to 20 seconds instead of 30. The Succession version of this skill has also been deleted. Prime Guard will now allow you to strafe while in Q block and stamina will be consumed as if you were moving forward or backwards with your Q block. Prime Heavy Strike now has forward guard. Prime Shield Strike now has a stun CC in PvE on the first two hits. Prime Counter will now link with the forward jump version of Earth Tremor. If you press the F key after the upward/counter attack, the all accuracy rate effect of 15% for 3 seconds has been changed to 9% for 10 seconds. Prime Enhanced Spirit no longer has the evasion rate buff, and instead the DP buff has been increased from 20 to 40, and the accuracy rate buff has been increased from 15% to 20%. Lastly, the absolute counter had a minor animation bug fix, but for Awakening Warrior, Flow Reckless Blow no longer has the attack speed buff. Instead, now Burning Moxie has the attack speed buff. It is also now a passive skill. Depending on the amount of enemies around you, your attack speed and your DP will increase. If there is just one enemy around you, your attack speed will increase by 10% and your DP by 20. If there are 3 enemies around you, your attack speed will increase by 10% and your DP by 30. And if there are 6 or more enemies around you, your attack speed will increase by 15% and your DP by 40. Grave Digging has better links with some skills. Flow Ankle Break Balance CC is now PvE only, and it now has a forward guard. And lastly, Greatsword Defense has a tooltip description fix. Now for Succession Kuno, Prime Ankle Cutter now consumes 20 mana, and it will no longer consume stamina when used on cooldown. An Ninjutsu effect has also been added to this skill. Prime Flash Slash has been changed so that movement attacks are not activated while pressing Shift or F while using this skill. Prime Wheel of Wrath has an animation speed change. They've unified the attack area of the first attack to match the effect, and they have unified the attack area of the second attack to be wider. Prime Dance Macabre will now link more smoothly with some skills. And lastly, Prime Shadow Clone cooldown has been reduced to 8 seconds from 10 seconds. Now for both Witch and Wizard, Blizzard would no longer stack movement speed debuffs on top of other skills with a similar effect. For Awakening Wizard specifically, Elementalization has better links with Teleport. The cooldown of Flow Magical Evasion has been reduced to 3 seconds from 4 seconds. Your pet will now lock your summon from proccing while using skills. You would have to be in standby or press F after using Flow Magical Evasion to summon your pet. Lastly, Chilling Wave will no longer stack movement speed debuff on top of other skills with a similar effect. For Awakening Witch, Fissure Wave no longer has the attack speed debuff. Instead, Thunderstorm now has a lower cooldown of 8 seconds instead of 11, and it now has that attack speed debuff. The attack speed debuff and the already movement speed debuff on this skill will now be 30% reduction for 5 seconds instead of 10. If you summon Tet and use Thunderstorm, Tet will now attack according to the target. BSR Detonative Flow, all resistance buff has been increased to 20 seconds from 10 seconds. Tectonic Block will now have the DP buff last for 10 seconds instead of 5 seconds. Equilibrium Break can now be cancelled with your Flow Magical Evasion or Elementalization skill. Elementalization has better links with Teleport. The cooldown of Flow Magical Evasion has been reduced to 3 seconds from 4 seconds. And lastly, your pet passive effects will now give you max mana plus 700 instead of 250 mana recovery every 10 seconds, and it will now lock your summon from proccing while using skills. You would again have to be in standby mode or press F after using Flow Magical Evasion. For Succession Striker, Prime Roaring Tiger now has forward guard. Silent Step will now link more smoothly with more skills. It also now has an SA animation. Prime Fist Fury now has an 8-second cooldown added to the skill. It cannot be used on cooldown. Floating CC on the third hit has been removed and replaced with a knockback CC on the first hit. You now recover more Martial Spirit on hits, and damage has increased by around 5% but with less hits, and a 30% crit rate base added to the skill. Explosive Jolt Bomb now recovers 50 health on hits instead of 20 mana on hits. It will now link more smoothly with other skills. It will also now link with Combo Final Blow and Roaring Tiger by just pressing LMB. It also now deals 40% more damage. And lastly, they also fixed a number of issues with some other Striker Succession skills. The last class we're going to look at today is Succession Nova. Karatam's opening can now be used on cooldown. The cooldown for the skill has been increased from 5 seconds to 7 seconds. The Succession version of the skill, however, remains the same as before. Retribution Snare no longer rushes on grapple fails. It will now consume mana instead of stamina. The protection effect will no longer apply on failed grabs, and it can no longer be used on cooldown. The cooldown has been reduced to 17 seconds. Super armor has been added on successful grabs. Prime Icy Prison no longer has a normal attack. Instead, Axiom will appear and attack even if you have pawns summoned. Karatum's Vigor passive is now a 300 max health passive instead of the 45 health recovery passive it used to be. Prime Star's Call has been changed so that collision does not apply when moving forward. The damage has been changed to apply while moving forward, so even if you hit an enemy, you will damage them and continue through them with the attack. Prime King of the Dead cooldown has been reduced to 5 seconds instead of 20. The skill itself will be its own icon on the skill window. It will no longer activate if the conditions are such that Axion cannot be summoned or such that Axion cannot be despawned. Prime Bitter Rain now deals 8% more damage, has crit rate base even in PvP, accuracy rate increased to 10% from 6%, and recovers 50 health per hit instead of 30. Prime Icy Thorns now deals 80% more damage and recovers 60 health per hit instead of 30. Prime Frozen Earth now deals 6% more damage, has 100% crit rate instead of 50% base, and recovers 25 mana per hit instead of 15. Prime Stamina's Mate now deals 12% more damage, has 100% crit rate instead of 50% base, has 14% accuracy rate instead of 5%, and recovers 25 mana per hit instead of 15. Prime Entangling Icy Thorns now deals 13% more damage, has 100% crit rate instead of 50% base, and recovers 30 mana per hit instead of 10. And lastly, Prime Swooping Ring now deals 3% more damage and recovers 50 health per hit instead of 25. That's all for class balance this week. There are other updates. For example, in Guild League, 2 new maps have been added, Kaposha and Elder's Bridge. You will now gain some combat XP after every match depending on whether you win or lose and what level your character is. Combat XP buffs will not apply for these. For quest changes, they changed the Shikatu Merchant's Archive Thieves Encyclopedia Volume 6 Chapter 4. That entry where you collect items promising eternal friendship, that's now going to include 2 new required items, which is just beer and cold draft beer. For UI updates, they added a feature to stables to sort horses by gender, tier, breeding count, and level. Added a portrait border to the worker of the day to differentiate their grades. Added a feature to directly open the central market from the central market notifications displayed at the bottom of the screen. And for events, we have Old Moon Boss Seal event. During this event, going to field and world bosses will get you an Old Moon Boss Seal you can exchange with Jatina for some items. Garment scales and an 80 stack are some of the new items available for exchanges as well. This event is going to last for 2 weeks. For NA and EU specifically, we have our first few anniversary events starting. The first event for this is the Seal of Sincerity event. You fish, gather, or grind to receive these seals that you can exchange for multiple items like a 100 stack, cronstones, maids, and more. You will also be getting these seals for playtime rewards. In addition to getting some other items, you can exchange these seals with Igor Bartali in Velia. There will be one-time exchanges and weekly exchanges for these seals. The second event is a login rewards event, 2200 total crons, a free pet, 100 stack, and some other items. There's also an emote design event that will reward winners with some merch and your designs being used by the official BDO socials. And lastly, for Pearl Shop items, we have the new Rose Noire outfit available to us, 2200 pearls. This one does not come with weapon skins, but it is certainly one of the better outfits they've released, and looking at my community post, it seems most of you are happy with the design. This is for all female classes except Shy, so let me know if you're thinking of picking this one up. If you want to see more designs like this for female classes, let me know in the comments. I'll leave you with a showcase of the outfit, and that's all for this update. Let me know your thoughts on the class balance changes this week in the comments down below, and test server patch is in a couple of days. Let me know what you think we're gonna see there, maybe some class balance hopefully. And as always, thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.